Hi, this is Holly Reynolds, Senior Product Designer for Plan. Just because I'm not quite sure who all gets to see this video, just wanted to spend a couple of minutes talking about what we're going to be working on for the next milestone. I'm going to share my screen. This is the project management side of Plan in particular. So all of our initiatives will be focused primarily on that with the exception of the last, which is a little broader. I think that I'm showing everything here. So let me just clear some clutter out of the way because sometimes Zoom wants to show everything. All right, so focusing on the larger monitor here, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit in case it is kind of small. The three primary initiatives that I'm focused on in particular for this next milestone are the iteration report. So this is the report view that shows when someone selects an iteration. This is going to function very similarly to a sprint or the concept of a sprint, but we are calling it an iteration because a sprint is more of a Scrum focused term. So we are going with a report view that is accessible in a very similar manner to viewing an issue or an MR. You browse the item from a list that you would select from that kind of list view side menu, and then choose your actual iteration from there, and then that would take you to kind of this report view. We went through several revisions of this particular design, so you can see some wireframes here. This particular issue, by the way, is 218277. And you can see there's a lot of discussion as we kind of started going through. Even more happened outside of this particular issue and some other issues and in Whimsical. And where we have kind of landed is here. And so in this view, you can see kind of an overview of this sprint page or iteration page. It shows the status of the iteration, a title, some basic description information, very similar to the milestone page currently. And then we've got some high-level metrics. I've actually just revisited the design of those and the segmented control here after some quick discussion with Nick Post that was super helpful on how he's organizing the analytics content, just to be sure that we're consistent. So they can filter by this information, these particular charts, and that is the burn down and burn up chart. And then they can also see a list view of the information here, either by issues or merge requests with a status and the assignees also displayed. So there's two designs shown in this particular issue, one for issues and one for MRs, just so everyone can get kind of an idea of what that looks like. The latest update that I made to it was kind of like this. So Nick had proposed that we tweak maybe the segmented control to have a little bit more of a rounded edge, which I did, but then I also added in some additional tweaks to that, which I'm waiting on his feedback from. And then went with a smaller, more condensed view of the metrics here, just to kind of simplify that layout, and removed some of the lines because after speaking with Gabe, we both agreed that there are a lot of lines in GitLab. We would like to potentially try to reduce some of that, but of course, anything that affects other issuables or objects, such as this header here, would be a larger discussion. So this is kind of a smaller approach to that effort. The next would be the Jira importer. So we're working now on phase 2 of this. And the primary area that I've been focused on for this is setting up user mapping. So basically when someone imports a project from Jira, we need a way to say, here are the people that you had in Jira that may have commented on issues or stories or whatever the case may be in Jira. And then we've got the same people potentially in GitLab, and we want to try to find a way to merge those users. So we went through a lot of discussion about this particular approach again as well, and where we have ended up is something kind of like this, where they can choose the project that they're importing from. We auto assign a label to that particular project so they can start to filter issues by that label and kind of organize their information that way. And then also we are displaying the usernames in JIRA as well as the assumed usernames associated with that individual in GitLab, but they will need to kind of verify that this is the case. If there's a scenario where we have people in GitLab, but there are not JIRA users associated with it, then we will display the name of the person who is actually conducting the import process. They will be kind of the new owner of that particular issue or piece of work. You can see there are some questions here from the developer that need to be revisited. One other piece to this that we're considering is an infinite scroll. So in this case, they could potentially have lots and lots of users, obviously. And I wanted to find a way where we could preserve the buttons here at the bottom, but still enable the infinite scroll. So this approach is proposing kind of a sticky bottom. I know that we have the footer bar that displays when they have a maybe footer alert message turned on. So we need to be cognizant of that and how these items might stack on top of each other, not literally overlapping, but so that both can be visible and accessible at all times. So that is being taken into consideration as well. And then the last is improving the lovability of issues. This is one of the UX OKRs, and it also includes a category maturity scorecard process. So there are 5 primary issues that we're focused on here, one of which has several smaller issues underneath it. The first is to fix select and search inputs. So currently when you go to move an issue, or if you go to find an epic, in the right sidebar, sometimes there's a problem with results not coming up the way we would expect them to, or not at all, and it's because of the way these components are structured. So revisiting that and trying to resolve that issue so that those components are a little bit more usable. Making it easier to remove labels from issues. This one has also had a lot of dialogue. And where we have landed with this is it seems that it is most popular in terms of feedback internally, that we have just a simple X that appears here. And as they hover over it, perhaps you can see maybe a hover state to provide feedback that they are looking to select that particular item. Still a little bit of discussion going on surrounding the design there with Jeremy, because I want to be sure that I'm in alignment with any visions that we have for colors and accessibility concerns and all of that. Again, there was a lot of discussion surrounding this one, including potentially having just check marks that display at the top of the list, so that when the user extends the list for labels in the right sidebar, everything that they currently have selected is just listed at the top with check marks beside it, so that they can kind of quickly access those and turn them off, as opposed to having to scroll up and down throughout the list. It is an improvement, but the feedback that we have received internally was that people really want to just have that, that X, to just one click, get rid of it. So that's kind of where we've landed there with that particular one. The next is a sticky issue title. So this is one also that's had a lot of discussion, and where we have landed with it, this is kind of similar to the concept in MRs where we have the tabs currently. But in this particular case, let's zoom in just a little bit, you can see that we have this kind of sticky header that displays the title and the status here at the top as you scroll through, so that you can always have that context of where you are in the issue, particularly if it's one of those really long issues that has a lot of discussion. The next is label quality of life improvements. This one has a lot of issues within it. So you can see there are a lot of opportunities we felt to improve labels. I don't see us getting to all of those in this particular milestone, but we do have a few that we've prioritized as kind of the high level items that we want to work on first, and those are listed in the description here. So that's also going to be a part of this lovability of issues effort. And then the last is having the ability to assign an epic to a group when creating an epic from within an epic. So the proposal in this particular case, and we're working with portfolio management on this one, is to simply add in a group dropdown when you're creating a new epoch so that you can select a group. This is using an existing pattern very similar to choosing a project when you're creating a new issue within an epoch. So very similar functionality. We would just be using groups instead of projects in that particular case. That is it for everything that I'm focused on primarily for a plan for this milestone. If anyone has any questions or feedback or thoughts they would like to share, I would love to hear it. Thanks so much.